private profile. Google's new privacy policy allows them to gather your information, and some security experts don't like it.
Video game couples. A new BYU study shows that those who play together stay together.
No show snow. This unusual year has had a harsh impact on those who depend on a winter wonderland. I'm Anna Hayes.
And I'm Angela Monteith. It's Thursday, February 23rd, and in Utah, it's 12 o'clock.
From KBYU and the BYU Department of Communications. This is the award-winning 11 News at noon.
The House passed a bill that would no longer require Utah students to take sex education classes. If the bill is made into a law, it will prohibit teaching contraception and rule out teaching sex altogether, although it would still allow teachers to answer any questions students have on sex education or contraception. Utah teachers may be required to take training classes in student suicide prevention. Utah leads the nation in teen and young adult suicide attempts, with 2 teens a day checked into hospitals for suicidal injuries. Supporters say teachers can pick up on depression signs simply by observing their students, and the program will only require them to have 2 hours of training every 5 years.
The Senate Transportation Committee approved a bill that strengthens the ban on texting while driving in Utah. The bill would include entering or viewing any kind of data on a cell phone. Utah State Senator Kevin Van Tassel says his phone allows him to send text messages verbally, which raises the question of whether or not that would be illegal while driving. Google is making big changes to its privacy policy that will allow it to have a complete profile on everything you do on its sites. Reporter Dan Simon shows us why a gold mine of user data for Google may not be so good for your privacy.
In the morning, I check the headlines on Google News, send some personal email using Google's Gmail. I may check Google Maps for driving directions. And some variation of this happens almost every single day.
Google knows almost everything about you.
That's why privacy watchdogs like Peter Eckersley are sounding the alarm about Google's new privacy policy. Beginning next month, the company is going to keep track of your activity across all of its sites and build a profile of you. Google says it will use the information to improve its services.
If there are things that you actually need to prevent other people from knowing about you, those will be in there.
Those already nervous about the company's influence pounced when it became known last week that Google exploited a known weakness in Apple's Safari browser, bypassing the browser's privacy settings. Jonathan Mayer is the Stanford researcher who uncovered the Safari breach. On the surface, he says it may not seem like a serious transgression. Google's code was being used only to target ads, but for some, web searches believed to be private were not.
Does it get disclosed because an employee is evil, because the company messes up? Does it get disclosed because the government demands it?
As for the new policy, Google acknowledges that, quote, people have different privacy concerns. Our goal is to be clear about what information we collect so that you can make meaningful choices about how it is used. The bottom line, people use Google because it offers important and useful services that are also free.
At this point, absolutely have to trust Google. And in a sense, on one hand, Google is probably more trustworthy than a lot of these other big technology companies. But because they know so much about us, we have to hold them to a higher standard of trust.
The concerns over Google come as the Obama administration prepares to lay out a new online Bill of Rights. The policy will set guidelines for how internet companies should treat consumer data.
A U.S. Supreme Court ruling could make lying a crime, which has First Amendment enthusiasts up in arms. Some politicians worry that courts could come after them for false claims, but the decision directly affects Utah County veteran Myron Brown. He's accused of lying about earning the Distinguished Service Cross, the Silver Star, and the Purple Heart. A standoff in Beaver last night ended in a suicide. Investigators believe the body belongs to Russell Scott Goldberg, who was wanted in connection to the death of a woman in California. Police say the man was driving on I-15 when they tried to pull him over but refused. When he finally stopped, police approached the car and found him dead.
Many national parks are ending water bottle sales. Zion National Park stopped selling them in 2008, with the Grand Canyon following a year ago. Now Utah's Arches and Canyonlands in southeast Utah will stop selling the plastic on March 1st. People can bring plastic bottles with them, but are encouraged to use refillable, non-disposable ones instead. The ban is intended to reduce waste, but some worry visitors may get dehydrated if they aren't properly prepared.
When 11 News at Noon returns. Virtual reality. What new research shows about married people who just can't get enough video games.
And risky rescue. This guy isn't just hanging around for fun. Hear why and how rescue teams had to save him. We'll be right back. Online gaming isn't just a hobby for teens anymore. Some married adults enjoy playing during the late night hours as well. 11 News reporter Haley Shockless explains how a new study shows that online gaming can hurt or help some marriages.
A lot of people I talk to know that gaming can destroy some couples' relationships, but researchers have found that playing together can help.
A virtual reality can keep things more entertaining in the gaming world, and a recent BYU study shows that gaming together actually helps some couples stay connected.
When you're engaged in the game together, you have something to talk about, you have something to interact over. We also found that when the avatars interacted within the game, that was a positive thing.
Even though many gamers spend their nighttime hours in front of the computer screen, Lundberg says creating an alternate persona can allow spouses to relate with each other in real life, but gaming still disrupts their bedtime routines and reduces time spent in shared activities, something Lundberg says can lead to gaming addiction and bigger challenges.
Wives would come back and say, well, I'd really like my husband to participate in this, but he won't get off the computer long enough to do it.
On average, husbands play the most, but Lundberg hopes more couples will want to increase time spent together face-to-face rather than on the screen.
The results that we have would indicate to us that this might actually be a bigger issue than we can even really assume based on the results of the studies.
Even though a large number of people play online games, Lundberg says it doesn't matter if couples connect in the real or virtual world. Both help to improve some couples' relationships.
Researchers also found that online gaming could be more severe than the study shows because they found many dedicated gamers were not willing to participate. Anna?
Thanks, Haley. A new study shows that colonoscopies keep people from dying of colon cancer. For the first time, there's clear evidence that removing precancerous growth spotted during the exam cuts the risk of death in half. Colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in the U.S., but only half of the people who are at risk actually get screened.
A Los Angeles rescue, just like in the movies, a colony of bats in a North Carolina hospital, and how one little piggy survived an overdose of human medication. Here's your look at news from across the nation. A stranded hiker had an unexpected lift this morning from a Los Angeles County firefighter. The rescuer dropped in from a helicopter to save the man who was stuck on the side of a cliff, grabbing onto him with the help of without the help of a harness. The hiker clung to the firefighter as the helicopter pulled the pair up. The hiker is in good condition. Patients in a hospital in Richmond County, North Carolina are dealing with some unwanted guests. A colony of bats have decided to inhabit the hospital and are flying in and out of patients' rooms. The hospital was worried about the health risks, so they evacuated the majority of the building and are working around the clock to get rid of the bats. A pet pig in Las Vegas is now home from the hospital after overdosing on his owner's medication when they left him at home. The animal ER released this 9-month-old pig named Crispy Bacon after 3 days of recovering from drug overdose. Crispy ingested ibuprofen and acetaminophen. Crispy's veterinarian says that drug overdose is common among many pets. And that's a look at your news from across the nation. Anna?
Thanks, Angela. Still to come on the news at noon. Sitting snowmobiles, how the mild winter will affect the cost of your next snowmobiling trip. And tantalizing toilets. Don't think those two words go together? Well, we'll show you how a collection to tickle your fancy.
Well, I don't know about toilets, but if snow tickles your fancy, I might have some good news for you. Your 11 News weather when we return.
It's freezing and windy today, but tomorrow projects actually a sunnier day. While this might make some people happy, 11 News reporter Jen Jacobson shows us why snowmobiling retailers see the snowy days as the brighter days.
The inconsistent snowfall this season has hit the snowmobiling retail industry hard. Managers say they are struggling to sell and earn rental revenue.
The rental aspect has hit us probably the worst. Rentals we usually capitalize on. We get a lot of revenue. So when our snowmobiles aren't getting rented out, we can't make the payment on our snowmobiles. And
Alpine Power Sports manager Dan Call says they see more damages to the snowmobiles' parts because of the rocks and thin ice. He says this adds additional cost for his company to maintain the few snowmobiles they rent out. Call says people can still have an enjoyable ride if they are willing to travel further than most people usually do.
Ski resorts and snowmobiling retailers encourage their clients to come up to higher elevations so that they can enjoy better snowfall. The managers say that these higher altitudes is the only reason that they can stay in business this year.
Several retail stores and ski resorts are reducing their hours and closing early on the weekdays because of less customers.
Yeah, definitely trying to throw more discounts out there, better deals, get people up here for the weekends. Definitely keeps the tourists away from coming out here to Utah.
Just as hundreds of snowmobiles are waiting to be used, retailers and managers are waiting for more snowfall. In Heber, Jen Jacobson, 11 News.
Snowmobilers should be careful only to go to elevations that ski resorts allow just in case of avalanches. Ski resorts also advise clients to ride with tour guides just to play it safe.
And make sure you're careful if you're planning on hitting the slopes this weekend. Warm temperatures and a wet forecast means higher avalanche danger. The Utah Avalanche Center raised the risk to red or high for slopes in Logan, Ogden, Salt Lake City, Provo, and the western Uintas Mountains in southeastern Utah, which are under an orange or considerable avalanche risk. Kika, I am going skiing this weekend with my family. Am I going to get any snow or is it
Yes, good news. You will be getting some snow.
Good.
Awesome. If you take a look outside right now, it's actually quite clear. There's not much snow on the ground, but as you can see, we are getting this cloud coverage up there. It's kind of hanging out around the mountains. Yesterday was a really nice day. We hit a high of 59, which is the warmest day of the year to date, so that's good news. But we are getting a cold front that is blowing through. Currently right now it is 36 degrees. Our humidity isn't too high, only at 47%. Our wind speeds are what are killing us. It is 35 miles per hour. So yesterday was really nice. You didn't want your jacket. Today you're gonna want it. If you're outside, you can feel that cold wind blowing through. Later tonight we can expect a low of 24 degrees. It will be partly cloudy and the wind speeds will drop. We'll only get a north wind about 6 miles per hour, pretty calm, and our sunset will come in at 6:13 p.m. Taking a bigger picture of what's going on, down here in the lower west coast, we can see there's nothing going on. But over here in Utah, we're just getting the tail end of this cold front. It's mostly now in Denver now. We'll get a 20% chance of snow today. We do have some other lingering storm systems that will hit Utah later on this week, and I'll hit more on that when we touch on our 5-day forecast. Looking at our Utah highs right now, we have a lot of matches going on. We have Logan up here at 39, but Salt Lake and Provo are both at 41, Moab and Wendover at 42, and St. George at a nice 60 degrees. At our southern 5-day forecast, Thursday is only partly cloudy. Friday will clear up. Saturday and Sunday we will get more cloud coverage, and Monday will be rainy. Up in northern Utah, it'll be the opposite, where southern Utah only have 1 day of stormy weather. We will only have 1 day on Friday of nice weather. Today we'll get some chance of snow. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday we have that storm system coming in. Saturday will be a 70% chance of rain and 40% chance for the next day.
Okay. Good for all the snowboarders.
That's right. Thanks, Kika.
You're welcome.
And we have a huge game tonight for our BYU Cougars, and 11 Sports anchor Sean Gordon is on site ready for the game tonight.
That's right. I'm here in the Evergreen State, although right now the windy Welcome back, everyone. I'm here right outside the McCarthy Athletics Center in Spokane, Washington, home of the Gonzaga Bulldogs. And this place should be rocking tonight as the Cougars try to occupy the kennel. They're going to look for a season sweep after taking down Gonzaga 83-73 in the Marriott Center earlier this month. But it's no easy task to win here in Spokane.
It was BYU's defensive intensity that helped them jump out to an early lead in Provo, and they didn't let up, scoring 22 points off 19 Gonzaga turnovers. And the Bigs played big, with Noah Hartsock scoring 24 and grabbing 14 boards, and Brandon Davies adding 15 points and anchoring the post defense that held the Gonzaga Bigs in check. Maybe most important, though, was the Cougars were able to shut down leading scorer Kevin Pangos, holding the freshman point guard to 4 points and forcing him to cough it up 4 times. It'll be a different atmosphere in the kennel, though, where the Bulldogs only have 1 loss, but the Cougars are no slouches on the road, and if BYU can bring the same defensive intensity and hit shots consistently, they can walk away with the win.
The BYU women are also in action tonight, taking on Santa Clara. They picked up a road win earlier in the season against the Broncos, 74-64, and if they win tonight, it'll set up a showdown right here in Spokane for a share of the WCC title. The game will be at 7 p.m. in the Marriott Center, and it can be seen on BYU TV. And it's a first for BYU baseball today, too, as they'll take on St. Mary's in their inaugural WCC matchup. The Cougars took 2 out of 3 against UC Riverside to start the season last week, and this is the first of 3 this weekend against St. Mary's. BYU was voted 7th in the WCC to come into the season, and it looks like it's going to shape up to be quite the difficult conference. Now, when you go to the NBA, it's the All-Star break, and Derek Favors, Gordon Hayward, and Jeremy Evans will be a part of the festivities. But for the Jazz, they needed to take care of business against Minnesota last night to be able to go into the break 500.
The Jazz jumped out to an early lead with a 12-point advantage after 1. They were led in scoring by Paul Millsap's 25 and Josh Howard's 19, and looked like they were on their way to an easy win. But the T-Wolves came storming back in the 4th, tying it up on this and 1 from Derek Williams and taking the lead 1 play later. The Jazz came up big, though. Al Jefferson nailed this jumper with 7 seconds left to tie it back up, but there was still plenty of time for the T-Wolves, and it was a night to remember for Luke Ridnour, hitting this game-winning floater to send the Jazz into the break with a sub-500 record.
But tonight it's all college basketball. You can catch the BYU Gonzaga game at 9 p.m. Mountain on ESPN2, and we'll be back tomorrow on CougTube to break down the game and take a look at a fan who has filled his frequent flyer card to follow the Cougars throughout the nation. But for now, from the Gonzaga campus in Spokane, Washington, Sean Gordon, 11 Sports.
Well, it's a big game tonight, and I was actually at the Gonzaga game earlier this semester where they lost, and they had tons of fans cheering them on, so I'm sure all those fans will be back tonight wanting revenge.
And more, because they're at home. Hopefully the home court advantage, won't
be in their favor.
Bad for them.
That's right.
But with our CougTube team there covering the show,
they're pretty loud cheers.
Hopefully that'll give us, some help.
That's right, I think so.
Still to come on 11 News at noon. Commode Collection. Here's a place where you can visit the library, throne room, and a privy, all in one place. We'll be right back.
Well, everyone knows Texas has a lot of state pride, but now it has one more thing to be proud of: a toilet seat museum. 90-year-old Barney Smith owns 1,002 toilet seats. He considers each seat to be a work of art and thinks the world needs to see his collection. You can even see pieces of Saddam Hussein's toilet from Baghdad. Barney says this museum has kept him young in his old age, so if you're ever in Texas, stop by and admire the royal thrones.
Wonder if you have some reading material to go with that. That's your 11 News at noon for February 23rd.
You can join us anytime on our website, 11news.byu.edu.
Thanks for watching and have a wonderful afternoon.